I've been alerted.
All ready? Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming today for our guest speaker, Coral Stoddard. Works at the Toledo Zoo as a mammal manager, I believe. And she's going to be talking about the really exciting work that she and the Toledo Zoo have been doing about the pied tamarins. So, you want me to just play it?
Yeah.
Manaus é uma cidade realmente assim diferenciada das que eu conheço. A diversidade de animais que a gente pode ver aqui é incrível, né? Então aqui você pode, andando por um fragmento florestal, você pode ver uma preguiça real, você vê primatas de várias espécies, você vê répteis, jacarés, diferentes cobras.
Manaus é uma cidade incrível, uma cidade que está no coração da Amazônia, mas que ao mesmo tempo apresenta muitos problemas. Nós temos a maior cidade da Amazônia, cerca de 2.200.000 habitantes, e a cidade vem crescendo num ritmo muito rápido e sem o devido planejamento. Então nós temos enfrentado situações, o avanço do desmatamento, os habitats têm ficado mais desconectados, tem perdido qualidade ambiental. De alguns anos para cá, nós temos sofrido muito com as queimadas. Nós temos tido alguns aspectos relacionados às mudanças climáticas. Essas ameaças estão muito relacionadas ao avanço da cidade, ao avanço do desmatamento, às mudanças climáticas, e realmente a gente ainda está tentando entender como isso vem afetando as nossas espécies. Mas o que a gente tem percebido é que cada vez mais elas têm sofrido mais pressão e têm entrado em situações muito mais complicadas e muito mais difíceis de conciliar relacionadas à sua conservação.
Pied tamarins are a small callitrichid that is found in one small city area that is called Manaus, Brazil. They are a super interesting tamarin because overall, when you look at a callitrichid, which would be a tamarin or a marmoset, tamarins are normally easygoing, very social creatures. And the biggest difference between pied tamarins and other tamarin species is that they're kind of the spicy tamarin of the group. They're very social, they do well in their family groups, but they don't like to mingle with other species of tamarins. Pied tamarins in Manaus, Brazil have a few different obstacles that they are dealing with that is creating such a large decline in their population. One of the biggest things is they're dealing with fragmentation of their forests, where as the city expands, their forest area is getting cut down and they'll end up with just patches of forest area, which is what fragmentation is. And then to get from one patch to another patch of forest, they're having to go through a city area which has a lot of roads. Roads then bring in the danger of cars and motorcycles. And then will also have to come down onto the ground if they don't have trees to hop to, and there is a very large population of feral cats and dogs in Manaus. So then they have to contend with a predator of a cat or a dog that they may get attacked by. And also, when they're traversing, a lot of the times what they're using to traverse through the city are the power lines. And then they run the risk of electrocution from the power lines. So between those different items, it makes it pretty treacherous for them to travel around the city. Originally, Jeff Saylor, our president and CEO, brought this species to our attention because he has a different way of looking at what's going on in populations. If we can help a species that is struggling, he likes to go down that path.
Modern zoos have a lot of different roles. I would say the most important role they have is inspiring the public about wildlife and connecting them with nature. At the same time, because we have such expertise in animal care, there's a lot that we can do in terms of in situ and ex situ conservation.
So at that point, we stepped up and said Toledo would take on that program if they'd let us, and that I would become the coordinator of it so that we could continue to see if we could actually move the program back forward again rather than just let it phase out.
We were able to bring our resources to bear to actually have a workshop that allowed a convening of all of the stakeholders to come together and to talk about what needs to happen with these little monkeys. Being able to send our staff to Brazil to help explain sort of the best techniques and best practices for rearing marmosets and tamarins. How do you provide for both their mental and physical health? How do you provide for their nutritional health? And then what would you do with a compromised animal should you come across one? And this is where we can take experiences and skill sets that we've developed here, managing this unique population in the United States, and use it to help animals in the wild or animals that hopefully will return to the wild.
Bom, meu nome é Diogo, laborateria, eu trabalho aqui no CEPAM. Para mim é uma felicidade muito grande iniciar esse workshop aqui. Eu gostaria então de agradecer muitas pessoas que vieram de longe, né? A gente tem colegas que vieram da Inglaterra, da Holanda, dos Estados Unidos, passaram mais de 24 horas daí se deslocando até aqui, então agradeço a presença de todos, agradeço a presença de todos que ajudaram na organização, né? O pessoal do IBAMA, Instituto Cafó, da Alfam. É importante a gente entender que a ideia desse workshop também é nos conhecermos, é nos integrarmos e de alguma forma fortalecer as ações para a conservação do sauí, né? É importante que vocês, né, já entendam que vocês são um papel muito importante no nosso município e a gente pretende contar com vocês.
O sauí de coleira, ele é uma espécie importante a ser preservada?
Que é uma espécie importante no ponto de vista de que ela é uma espécie que transita da floresta primária para a floresta secundária, para as áreas de borda, áreas degradadas. Então, ele consegue transportar sementes, dispersa sementes das áreas preservadas para essas áreas secundárias, né? Mas tem o aspecto evolutivo e o aspecto ético. Simplesmente é uma espécie que só ocorre aqui nessa região. Tem toda uma história única, evolutiva, né, que merece ser respeitada, né? Então, uma espécie que tem o seu valor intrínseco, o seu valor como espécie. Os animais frequentavam o quintal da minha casa, frequentavam a universidade e eu comecei a ficar preocupado com a situação. Naquela época, mais ninguém estava trabalhando com essa espécie, nem fazendo pesquisa, nem conservação. Então eu decidi que eu mesmo iria começar a fazer alguma coisa.
The Toledo Zoo right now is participating in some really awesome projects that are going on in Manaus. We are helping to fund a project where they are building bridges for these tamarins and for any species that comes across them and can utilize them. And then also we help with a program that is planting Pied-specific, Pied-friendly trees, and we got to meet with Marcelo while we were down there. He is the gentleman that is actually working these programs that we're helping, and he's been working with these Pied tamarins for over 20 years. He's there and he's seeing the aftermath of if these Pied tamarins are getting hit by cars or attacked by dogs, and he's moved forward with these bridges and done a really good job with it.
Para a conservação. Para a pesquisa, temos várias pesquisas que vão dar suporte importante, né? Pesquisas com saúde, né? Com parasitas e tal, que vão nos ajudar. Mas, de imediato, medidas de conservação, uma é restauração dos ambientes, usando as mudas, restaurando as florestas, né? Enriquecendo as florestas e formando corredores ecológicos. A outra é a construção de passagens de fauna, passagens de copa de árvore, porque possibilita de maneira imediata os animais atravessarem sem ser atropelados, né? Porque com as árvores às vezes demora 10 anos, 15 anos para conseguir formar os corredores, e com a passagem de fauna isso é imediato, né? Essa possibilidade. E a terceira forma de atuação do projeto, negociando e tendo uma boa relação com diferentes instituições que são importantes para tomadas de decisão. Temos informações, né, de ter visto os animais atravessando, coletamos já algumas informações com armadilhas fotográficas, né? Nós temos as estatísticas, os dados de atropelamentos aqui dentro da estrada do campus, que é o local que a gente consegue monitorar por muitos anos. E temos as datas em que começamos a instalação das passagens. Então os atropelamentos estão diminuindo com isso. E continuam acontecendo, mas geralmente em locais novos, onde eles não atravessavam. Os locais onde eles morriam antes já não morrem mais, já diminuiu o atropelamento. Eles vêm atravessando as passagens de fauna. Então são muito efetivas.
The main reason we went down was to offer our expertise to those that are caring for the pied tamarins in captivity there that have ended up at the rehab stations. Coral ended up really talking on how to enrich them and how to change up their environment. And then I took the other side of it where I wanted to show what the staff's roles were going to be, keeping the health of those animals a priority.
Nós estamos no Centro de Triagem de Animais Silvestres do IBAMA. É um centro, uma unidade dentro do IBAMA responsável por receber, né, tratar, identificar e destinar animais silvestres, né? Esses animais, eles são provenientes de várias situações de risco na área urbana ou na área rural, animais vítimas de atropelamento, animais vítimas de eletrocução, animais que eram anteriormente criados como animais de estimação. O nosso primeiro objetivo é devolvê-los quando possível ao ambiente de onde eles vieram. Se não for possível, a gente trata para eles serem destinados para cativeiro, e aí eles podem de alguma forma contribuir com a conservação ex situ dessas espécies, né?
We got to speak quite a bit to Natalia and a fair amount of her staff during the week that we were there. She's proud of her staff and really wanted to show that even though they have very little resources, they're doing as much as they can for the animals there. And she stressed the fact that she works with everything. So it was very impressive to meet her and to see how dedicated they are to what they're trying to do at that center. By providing the information to expand the skills of the people in Brazil, getting them really comfortable with those skills of how to care for them in the moment and get them back to a good emotional state and physical state, that will get them back into the wild in a better condition. Even if they just got them healthy and put them back, if they didn't meet the other needs and didn't know how to meet those other needs, then there's a good chance that animal might not survive back in the wild. So by us being able to give them the full skill set themselves or resources to find out what they needed, then that's going to help that animal when it comes through their facility to get back out into the wild healthily.
Right now, they don't have an ideal place to bring in pied tamarins. And with the help of funding, they are building and growing and building an actual tamarin-friendly space that they will be able to bring in tamarins.
The Tamarin Trust is a very new charity. It was only set up last year, and it specifically is to provide funds for conservationists working in the front line for the conservation of tamarins and marmosets, but also to support workshops so we can build capacity in country for working with these rare tamarins, but also provide research grants for students, work with local authorities and government bodies to help set up the correct legislation so we can protect some of the last areas for the marmosets and tamarins. Well, what we're doing here is saying, let's build the specialisation on the front line here with what we know here, and let's fund that and keep it going. The most important thing, I think, is to get really enthusiastic people who really want to fight for the species. It's creating a group of specialists that are going to ultimately save this species. And if you can form a group that's going to fight with one plan, you're more likely to have a success, aren't you? And if you can fire that enthusiasm in them to believe that they can win, you're more likely to win. And we hope to come back and again until we see big improvements on the ground for these guys and their pied tamarin.
Getting us to a place where people in Brazil have the skills necessary to do the rehabilitation. They have the ability to keep tamarins alive. They have the ability to create breeding colonies of them in Brazil, that those animals then could be re-released into the environment. That's what's critical for us. If we can reach that critical skills level, then we can begin to look for the next species that needs help. But in the end, the goal is for us to build skills, build capacity within this country, and then let them take the tamarins to that end goal, get them across that finish line, and get them sustainable and secure within Manaus.
Getting the message out to anyone is important, but the youth especially, they're absorbing all that knowledge and really think outside the box on how to save. These kids are going to grow up to be our next scientists, our next conservationists, and not only save the species like the pieds, they're going to save everything.
This program has solidified for me why I came into this field. This project embodies what zoos are about. We are not here just to put animals on display. The purpose and why we're here is to educate and to help their counterparts in the wild. We would really like to thank all the people in those organizations that are putting in so much legwork for this species. We gain so much from being there, make these connections, and learn about all the wonderful things that they're doing on the ground as well. For everyone back at home, being a part of the family that is the Toledo Zoo and supporting us as a community, we're able to do these things and to get more involved. You're helping us move not only towards a mission in our day-to-day job at the Toledo Zoo and to make the Toledo Zoo great, but you're helping us outside to really make a footprint in what we're able to do to help these species out where they're naturally found.
This nature, trees providing us oxygen. This is the machine that makes life habitable on this planet. We look after the trees and the nuts and bolts in the system, and a pied tamarin, I would argue, is an important nut and bolt in that machine. We keep the life support system going for us. So it's in our best interest to protect everything we've got here.
Então, a gente vive numa cidade que às vezes a gente passa horas no trânsito, mas ao mesmo tempo que a gente está parado num congestionamento, passa um grupo de araras, ou você ouve os papagaios cantando. Então, nós ainda estamos, digamos assim, em condições de ter uma cidade que respeite a natureza, e para isso a gente precisa trazer as pessoas para essa causa. Nós precisamos fazer as pessoas entenderem que elas são parte do problema, mas elas são parte da solução. Nós precisamos que as pessoas entendam que cuidar do meio ambiente é cuidar das pessoas. E as pessoas são as que têm o principal papel de conservação. O futuro da humanidade, o futuro da Amazônia, depende das decisões que nós estamos tomando agora.
I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to say first.
That video is fantastic. That video was made by 2 of our communications department workers. They're fantastic. Like, if that doesn't look like Nat Geo, I don't know what does. And that's just 2 of our staff members in our communications department. 2 of them came with us and we were there for 9 days. So have 9 days of footage, and that's what they made. It's fantastic. And the huge purpose behind making this film is so that it can continue to be shared with people like you. And it's on YouTube, and it can be seen by anyone that wants to look into it. So it's just really important information. We do our part to try to help the world and what's going on in it. But the more people that we can share that information, the further that message gets, the more powerful it is. So I won't repeat a lot because there's so much information there. So I think from that video, it's pretty clear about what we did there. So I will let your questions lead where we go with this. If there's something more that you would like to know about anything that was said in it, please ask. Very short background on me. I have been at the Toledo Zoo. I just had my 17-year anniversary in January. So most of my experience is with primates. I've always been in the small mammal department, but mainly focused on primates. So this hits close to home for me. That's what I'm most passionate about, are primates in that genre. But yeah, so I was a zookeeper for about 10.5 years, and then something that tends to happen in the working world is that you do good at your job, and you're like, hey, how about you be a manager? And then you come out of the job that you got into it because that's what you were passionate about, and now I'm managing people and coming at it from a whole different angle, which is very different. And it's good and it's bad. One of the cool things is that now I get to work with all of the mammals at the zoo and not just small mammals, but yeah. So.
Siena Heights undergraduate?
Yeah, I am a Siena Heights alum. So I've got my bachelor's in biology from Siena. Graduated in 2007, though. It's been a second. Yeah. So I'll let you guys lead with questions. Does anyone want to work with animals in here? Okay, cool. Yeah, questions?
So I'm not sure if you guys have pie tamarins or tamarins at the Toledo Zoo, but I was curious if like you noticed anything while doing research over there that you wanted to like bring back to the zoo or like the exhibits themselves.
So yes, we have 14 pie tamarins. We actually have the largest grouping of pie tamarins in the country. When we took over the program, we brought in 2 breeding pairs, and we bred those 2 pairs. One female was very prolific. She had lots of babies. She has since passed. She was like the crypt keeper when she finally passed. She was very old. Did great things for the species, made lots of babies. So we have had up to 17 animals. We are now at 14 because we do a lot of shipping with other zoos in and out to create the best breeding pairs and groupings. And we also have emperor tamarins. Those are the ones with the mustaches. So that's not in my department though, that's in birds for some reason. So the cool thing that we do whenever we get a new species in is we will go through, and our behavior department and the department that the animal is going to will look at their natural history. So whenever we are looking to bring in a new species, we want to create the best habitat for them as possible. So when we looked into the natural history of pie tamarins, we were able to see the kind of space that they would naturally live in, and that's kind of what we model our exhibits after. So it was really cool to get to go to Brazil and to see them in their natural habitat. Thank God it was not visible in the video because I am not a crier, but after working with primates for my entire career and then getting to see them in the wild, I did tear. Like, don't record me. But it was so cool to be there. But it also kind of made me really proud that how we exhibit them is pretty spot on. So these guys like to be, they do use the larger trees in the forest to traverse, but they do spend a decent amount of time on the lower level tree area as well. So we have both as well to allow them to traverse around. So yeah. The only thing that we're not able to recreate with most animals is the most natural diet of what they would actually be eating where they're native to. Like orangutans eat durian fruit. Durian is very expensive to get in the States. So that's one of the biggest hangups is that we do feed them a very balanced diet and we look at the breakdown of it, of protein and all the different things that go into it. But the actual fruits and things that they would eat in their natural habitat, that's something that is a little different. Which, if you're ever wondering, fruits from pretty much anywhere else are extremely fibrous and our fruits are very sugary. So that's one of the biggest differences with especially primate diets.
You try and feed them like in a specific way to like mimic their natural habitat.
And what's that called? Animal behavior. He was talking about it in the beginning. It's called, it starts with an E, enrichment. So yeah, that's one of the biggest ways that we enrich animals is trying to provide their food in a way that triggers that part of their brain to actually do those naturalistic behaviors. So with these guys, they're not all that specific. Like with an eye, which is a type of primate, it's a lemur. They have that long, creepy finger, and they'll like tap in to get like gum and stuff out of trees. So they don't have anything like that, but these guys are actually a primate that one of their adaptations is they have claws. They're a primate that doesn't have nails. Most primates have nails. They're just a lot thicker than ours. These guys actually have claws, and that helps them with the fruits that they eat and that they tear into. Again, very fibrous. So we feed them like in little puzzles and different contraptions to help them to do things more naturally.
Can I ask a question? Because I hate to monopolize you. I know there's probably a lot of questions and lots of good things you could say. Can you go back to the forest thing? Because it said in there, they talked about primary and secondary forest and like the movements of the tamarins. So what was that part of the story too? Is it as they were moving? You mentioned the trees, the importance of the trees for them.
Yeah. So that's one of the special things about these guys, is that they're really one of the main seed dispersers in the area with the types of fruits that they're eating, because with their smaller size, again, this is the only tamarind found in the area in Manaus. So with their smaller size, they're able to traverse on those more flimsy branches, and the smaller plants, so they can traverse from primary to secondary forest where other larger primates can't, because they're too heavy for the perching that they're going to walk across. So they're able to move into that secondary forest where everything is a little smaller and more flimsy, and they can get around and actually be able to disperse those seeds. And everyone knows how they're dispersing them. They eat them and then they come out the other end. So seed dispersal. Yeah. And something that I felt like it was a really silly question after they answered me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I should have known better. But I asked them when I was there, could you potentially take pieds and put them into a different area? And like the Amazon rainforest is so big, could we start putting them other places to try to get the population up? They said no, because something that they have witnessed historically is that when you take a species that is not native to an area, they then become an invasive species, and they can actually outcompete the other tamarins that would be in that area. So now we've just taken the problems of the pieds and made them the problem of, a cotton top. So, yeah.
What's the difference between primary and secondary forest?
So primary forest is the older, more substantial forest. Secondary forest is where it's regrowing. So, and unfortunately in Manaus, secondary forests are becoming more and more prevalent because of the destruction that's happening. And the program that it quickly talked about with Marcelo, the program that we're doing is to support, one of them is to support Marcelo in the propagation that he's doing of creating these seedlings and these trees that are specifically pied tamarin friendly. Don't ask me the names of the plants, they're very weird and I can't remember the names of them. But he's creating these plants and he's going out and planting them and putting them out there. The sad side of this, as is going to be common in any developing country area, is that he will go out and he will plant new forest area. And he said that normally within 10 years, that gets clear-cutted. So it's going to be a common ongoing issue. So one of the most important things, if you are looking in any capacity to go into conservation for anything on Earth, is that you can't just look at conservation in the terms of the animal or the plant or the whatever it is, because of us. Like, we as, a species look at that we're the most important thing. We have to make sure that me, my family are able to survive. And especially when you're looking at a lot of species, you're looking at a lot of them second world countries and places that aren't able to do as much as we are able to do as far as just turning on a tap and having clean water, adjusting your furnace, and you have heat in your house. So like with red pandas in Nepal, something that they did to help with conservation, which was completely irrelevant to a red panda itself, is that they created a more sustainable heating furnace that they were then giving out to the people that was able to use less wood, them having to cut down less of the forest to heat their homes. Because if I go up to somebody and say, we need you to stop cutting down the forest, like you're taking away this land space for red pandas, they're going to say, I have to keep my family alive. I have small children. I can't have them freeze to death. I don't care about your red panda. So whenever we're looking at conservation, we always need to look into the humanity side of it first. So you have to figure out how to make livable wages for those people and for them to survive. So whenever you're getting into conservation, you have to think the people side of it first.
Like the zoo is when people try to sell me something.
That's a bit of a tangent, but I always get on that tangent. I met a guy, I was at a lemur conference probably 12 years ago, and I was asking about like, hey, how could I potentially, get involved and come over to Madagascar and help with anything? He said, unless you're willing to be there for 6 months, you're of no use to me. Because people come over for 2 weeks and they think that they're being helpful, and in that time I train you and then you're gone. Like, you need to be more beneficial. And then he really got to that spiel of how we have to get into the humanity side of it first. That money can't just be looked at, well, I don't want to give money if it's just going to go to pay for that forest ranger's salary. You need those forest rangers to actually keep track of the animals that are being protected. So it's all important.
I know you mentioned that you guys ship out to like and trade with other zoos, but have you sent any back into the Amazon, like back into the wild yet?
No, we have not. So what really needs to happen is that so technically we are creating what would be an insurance population, but things would have to go really south in country for them to take from our groupings, because obviously by the time that they get from the states to them, that's a long process. And also the way that we're able to house them is never going to be as good as how it is in their native country where they have all of those native foods. Because over there, they're going to feed them what they would be looking for in the wild. So mainly we, on this side of it, are looking at the education side. We're looking at raising awareness and trying to create that availability to send funds and information. So right now they are working on a program to try to get breeding and everything up in countries so that they can potentially then take those animals from Brazil to put back into the wild. But
yeah, that's interesting. It connects to one of the themes we talked about, you know, because one of the things we talked about dogs and wolves as we started talking about differences between them in imprinting and some of those things. So like it's interesting, you know, and there are different ways to I guess or reintroduce but it sounds like one of the goals is to set up like a reintroduction kind of program. So but more for like injured individuals that they get a time to kind of rehabilitate and then move on. Yeah, so maybe you could what are some of the ways that they're gonna like move them back into the wild? So potentially these aren't ones that are like we're saying, they're not raised in captivity, but where they've got a parent, they're kind of imprinted to the other tamarins, but then going to be reintroduced.
So you guys all saw that pink pied tamarin? Yeah. So that was at the place called Ibama. That is their government facility. Government facilities, especially in other countries, are always very underfunded and struggle, and that facility was no different. They do a fantastic job of what they have and what they can do, but struggle whenever you're dealing with the government funded facility. So what they're doing right now, you saw just a snippet of where they were building new sites. So that site that they're building is going to be specifically for pied tamarins. And that will allow to keep them, because right now, like that little pied tamarin is the only one that they had in-house because it's the only thing they could take. And it was just in like a bird cage. So keeping them in that kind of setting isn't going to set that animal up for success to get it back out into the wild. And obviously you can't put a pink pied tamarin back out in the wild. That pied tamarin was a pet, so that they used hair dye to dye that tamarin. Suzanne and I were like a monkey on their backs, like, hey, we'll take that pink tamarin from you. We'll take it right back to the States with us. Because obviously looking at genetics and genetic diversity, like any new genetics that we can get into the population to help make sure that we're not getting into any bottlenecking, so that, you know, genetic bottlenecking, so that we don't have inbreeding and things like that, the better. But that facility in its own will be able to take in pied tamarins that are injured or have fallen off of parents, whatever it might be, and spend time on the ground there with all the things that they would need to then go back out to the wild. Yeah.
You're talking about like them interbreeding, say with like a pet, or like, do you have any worry like if you were to release a population of pied tamarins and they did breed with a wild population, like seeing any genetic issues or like them evolving in a way that would be worse?
No. So if you had, like if that little pink guy went back out in the wild and somehow didn't get eaten by the first thing that spotted its pink body from across the forest, no, because actually that would potentially even be better, because if you had a tamarin that had been removed from the population and wasn't related to then anything that was out in an area, then you've got better genetics because they weren't in close relation to each other, so they're not going to be genetically close. So the tough part with genetic bottlenecking is that since they're only found in this city in Manaus, and they're not able to, branch out very much, now they're just in close proximity to each other, and they're just going to keep breeding, aunts to nephews and father to daughter, and all the different things. So it would not be a bad thing. No. Yeah.
Where did you get the tamarins that the Toledo Zoo has now? Did they come from other zoos, or?
Yes. Yes. So, and that's an interesting thing as well about pied tamarins, is that within all the different SSPs, which are the Species Survival Plan, within all the different SSPs that are within the AZA, which is the American Zoological Association, they have a track of the genetics and everything like that, and who should breed with who, and it's very helpful. But in most of those settings, it'll be different zoos that have ownership. They own, or it's leased, or whatever it may be. But with the pied tamarins, every single pied tamarin is owned by Brazil. We do not own a single pied tamarin. And the reason being, they will not release ownership, because if at any point they want to take all of them back, they can. So that's how it works. The whole ownership aspect of it, when you're looking at the breakdown of where animals are at, is that if something was going on and we had a whole group of an animal that they all got ill and passed away, we could, if we had a facility that wasn't willing to work with us, we could force that animal back. That has not happened in my career. So even saying that that's a possibility, I've never seen that happen. Yeah.
When you work at a zoo, how do opportunities to visit other countries and help preserve different species arise?
So again, I've been at the Toledo Zoo. I just had my 17-year anniversary. That's the first time I've ever left the country. No, that was the second time. And crazy enough, I did my last talk over at Siena. I got to go to Tasmania that same year. Crazy, fun. That was the first time I had ever left the country. That was to go pick up 8 Tasmanian devils. It arises by need. So the Tasmania trip came from, we had built a facility that we could, a distribution facility at the Toledo Zoo, that we could go through all the permitting, do it all ourselves, because permitting with Australia is a nightmare. And then we could just bring in a large group and then have them go through quarantine with us, and then disperse those devils out to the other zoos that we're going to be housing them. With this program, this is our director, Jeff Saylor, he actually found this program that we then started donating for the Bridge Project and for the propagation project for the plants. And he found out about this workshop, and the main purpose of us going was to share our knowledge of working with them, with the people in country. And the reason why we were a good fit for that is because, again, we have the most pied tamarins in the population at the Toledo Zoo. So what comes with that, when you have a large number of animals, it gives you a certain level of expertise, because you don't just see one thing. You don't just see a pair that only have one kind of interaction. We have mom and daughter. We've done multiple integrations of introducing a new male to a female and dealing with that. We've had family groups of up to, we had 6 kids. So we had a group of 8 of mom, dad, and just sibling pair after sibling pair after sibling pair, because it's most common for tamarins and marmosets to have twins. So we've dealt with triplets, where you have to try to, have to make decisions of, if all 3 aren't going to survive, what do we do with that? How do we try to keep that third one alive? So we've dealt with a lot of information. We've dealt with a lot of scenarios, so then that makes us a good fit to go and share that knowledge elsewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any insight, for the Tamarin Trust, how do you start something or gain funding if you wanted to do a large scale conservation?
You ever heard that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know?
Yeah.
So it's the way the world works. So Dom is the head of the Tamron Trust. He worked at the New Jersey Zoo, and I've never felt so silly than when I learned that he was not from New Jersey. He's from the New Jersey Zoo is in London. So for the longest time, I'm like, there's no zoo that's the New Jersey Zoo. There might be a zoo in New Jersey, but it's not like called the New Jersey Zoo. I'm talking for probably 6 months. I thought that this guy was from the States. He's not. He is British. So he worked at the New Jersey Zoo for over 20 years, had made a lot of connections within the caltricid world. And when he was ready to move out of his position there, because he had moved up from being a keeper to a curator to a director and moved out. Actually, no, he was never a director. He was a curator. Then with the connections that he had made throughout his many years of being in the profession, he saw a need and he put in the time and effort to do it. Dom probably goes back to South America 6 times a year. And he'll go for a month at a time. So he's going there a lot. And he's not just working with pied tamarins. Like he said, it's all tamarins and caltrichids that he's looking at. And he's using a lot of like his retirement money to go and do this. So this comes from, he made a comment of you need a group of people that are very excited about it and very passionate about it. So whatever you guys do, be passionate about it. If you want to actually make a difference in something, be passionate about what you're trying to do, because there's going to be sacrifice. If you want to make a difference, you're going to sacrifice along the way. So, you know, he saw that need and really pushed for it. And now he is making a difference. He's making things happen, and he's, you know, spreading a lot of awareness. He was another portion of what got us pulled into that conference as well. And I'm very proud to say that the Toledo Zoo does a lot for this pied tamarin project. So, yeah.
I know you said you're a manager at the zoo. What does that typically look like for the Toledo Zoo?
So I'm the small mammal area manager. There's also a large mammal area manager. Pretty much my day-to-day is making sure all of the wheels are turning with a very large side of trying to keep keepers happy. So I do a lot of scheduling. I work between all the different departments. If you're ever going to work in a zoo and manage, make sure that you have lots of friends in the maintenance department and in the custodial department. Like, I deal with everybody and just make sure that things run smoothly. My favorite part about being a zookeeper and what has translated as well into this role is I like to do exhibit work. So I like to do the building, and like if you go to Primate Forest at the Toledo Zoo, a lot of what you see there is what I built. So through the years, I've now taught my new keepers that are in that area how to do the different structural things. So it's a lot of teaching as well. That's the most fulfilling part of my job, is I like to pass on knowledge and skills to the next generation. It's crazy that I am now saying that I'm passing on skills to the next generation because I've been there that long now. But a lot of, like, I'm pretty decent at animal handling, so hand capturing animals and netting and different things like that. So I like to pass on the different skills needed to do this profession. So, yeah.
What was it like stepping into that role, like leadership-wise?
Not that. The big old, what am I doing? My previous boss, he's gone now. What happens a lot is that you excel at something and you're good at it, and so, okay, we should move you up. You're really good at this, so let's take you up to the next level. But then, well, sometimes there's not a lot of training that goes along with taking you up to the next level. I grew up an athlete. I still play softball, and so I have a mindset of being stubborn and wanting to be the best at things. So it was you should do this. No. And you should do this, and no. And 6 months later, we have this position I'm thinking about. No, thank you. And a lot of back and forth if I don't want to do it. And then sitting down and really thinking about it, and again, wanting to make a difference. So knowing the things that keepers have issues with and wanting to then make their job better, because if they're doing well and they're happy in their role, that's going to translate over into animal care. So, but it's good now. It took a minute, but it's good now. Yeah.
Did you originally want to be a zookeeper, or what made you go that route?
So June is a science, was in the science department, so he doesn't know this about me. But I wrote a persuasive paper my sophomore year at Siena Heights against zoos. So, and not necessarily for me, it came from ignorance, honestly. Not knowing what really happens in zoos. So the paper that I wrote was mainly revolving around, I don't want animals to be in captivity. I want them to be out in the wild. But that's ignorant on many levels. Mainly because the animals that are already in a zoo setting could never make it in the wild. The other side of that is there's only less and less space for these animals to be. The other side of that is zoos are doing so much more than just putting animals up for entertainment. That's not what it's about. I genuinely believe that my purpose of being in the zoo is to educate the public and to create that spark. Maybe not, but if one of you leaves this talk and is like, that sounds really cool, and I could really see pushing to get into a zoo and to continue on, because you're all like 20, I just turned 40. You guys are the next, you're the next group. People have to keep coming after my generation to keep this wheel moving. So we need to spark that excitement and, interest into wanting to do this. So no, I knew that I wanted to be a zookeeper probably after my sophomore year when I got an F on that paper. So sister, I can't remember her name, she made me rewrite that paper, which I still don't agree with, but she made me rewrite it, and I did more research into it and got a little bit more of a knowledge base on it. And then I did internships between my junior and senior year down in the sanctuary in Texas. And then after I graduated, I did another internship at a sanctuary down in Texas with big cats, and it's pretty much on from there. Yeah. I knew I wanted to work with animals, just I didn't know zoos. I didn't really know that was a thing. And that's something that we're still fighting now, by the way, especially with underrepresented groups. We're really fighting this, no one knows that it's even an option. The more that you talk to people and you hear the crazy professions that are out there, you're like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. People don't realize that being a zookeeper is really a profession. So.
Do you have any graduate degrees? If so, where did you go? No?
No. Nope, you could not pay me to stay in school any longer than what I had to.
So what did graduating, after your undergraduate, what did everything look like?
So, is anyone from the Toledo area? Yeah? Have you ever heard of the Zoo Team program?
No.
No, okay. Well, we have a Zoo Team program. I was a Zoo Teen the 3rd season of Zoo Teens, another aging myself. So again, it's the who you know. I made the connection with the education director going through that process of becoming a Zoo Teen. When I was about a month out from completing my 3-month internship after I graduated, I called him up, hey, I'm getting ready to wrap this up. Anywhere I can get into that will get me experience, get my foot in the door, because I know I'm a hard worker. I'm gonna be great at this, I know it. And he got me into the bird department once a week, and in primate forest once a week. And I did that for 6 months, and then I temped for 9 months, and then I got a full-time job. So you do not need a graduate degree to be a zookeeper. Now, if you're looking at becoming the director of the zoo, there's most of the time those guys have more degrees, but I do not want to be a director of the zoo. No, thank you. That's too much for me. Pass. Saw a hand way back there if you still have a question.
Yes, wanted to ask if you guys also do the IVF, I don't know, maybe to help some species
to
get extinct?
We do. So it has been done in some felid species. not as successfully as what we would want, but the most common and largely noted, pun intended, is our elephants. So our elephant Renee has had, Kirka is her third baby, and all of them were done through IVF. And the reason being because A, there is a very large program that deals with collection with bull elephants, and they've got it down to a science, and they can collect samples rather easily, and then, which, holy cow, I think they are working, our communication department is working on a video of the process of semen collection for bull elephants. It's something. I've just recently been involved, like this last 6 months, they started pulling me in to help by being a runner. I've been a collector and a runner, and no, thank you, I do not want to work with elephants. I don't want to be the because it happens from the rear. But, so we have done IVF for every single one of her pregnancies, and it's rather successful with elephants. The main reason for the need is because bull elephants are very large, can be very aggressive when they're going through a muss, and it's much easier and safer for the female elephants to just do a semen collection and then use IVF to implant that female.
Well, I think on that note, let's thank our speaker. I believe Coral has a little bit of time, so maybe if you did want to speak with her in person, here's an opportunity. If you're in the microbiology class, let's take a little 5-minute break here, but then we'll meet up at the lab. Good.
For animal behavior, I got an assignment that I'm gonna pass out, and we'll just talk a little bit, but